Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's Friday and we are here for our first ever sew along. So I wore my handmade quilt block sweatshirt today for this occasion. I am so excited to be here with you all. If you don't know me, I am Bethany with Caterpillar and I clearly love to sew. And that's what we're going to do today. So, welcome everybody. Hello, Joyce. Hello, Susan from North Carolina. Hi, everybody. So Francie, I love the name on your YouTube. That's awesome. Hello, Susan. Oh, you guys are all here. I think this might be our biggest turnout right when we go live. So we're so excited to have you here. Hi, Judy. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I feel like I need to get ready. Y'all ready to sew with me? Are you ready? We're going to have so much fun. All right. So let's do something fun real quick. In the comments, I love that you guys are telling me where you're tuning in from. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, by the way. I would love to know something great that happened this week, big or small, crafty or not, doesn't matter. Just let us know a positive from your week in the comments today. I just feel like we need to celebrate. It's the last day of January. Finally, I feel like this month lasts forever. So I'd love to, Jackson Hole preparing for 3 feet of snow. Charlene, I said a positive. I'm just messing with you. Actually, I wouldn't know what to do with 3 feet of snow. I'm in the South. We would be so lost. You got your sew groove back. I love that. I love that. I love saying sew groove. I call it sojo. You went to a quilt show today. How fun. I love going to shows and getting inspiration, cleaning and organizing your sewing room. That's, Brenda, one of my favorite things to do, believe it or not. All of our snow melted this week. That's worth celebrating, Denise. Awesome. We'll keep sharing those positive. Yesterday was my 89th birthday. Dale, happy birthday. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're going to sew or craft along with us today. Steve, thank you. I hope it's a positive today. I hope you learned something new today. You got a little promotion at work. Every promotion is a big deal. So congratulations to that. Worked on a couple quilts. Love that. You're making another. Way to go, Misty. Look at you guys. Your eyes have improved since your last doctor's visit. Philip, that's amazing. I wish I could say the same. I really need to get mine checked out, but every time I go, they're like, oh, they're worse. Here's a new prescription. And I have to get all new glasses. But picking out fun glasses can be fun. So I'm trying to find the positive. My positive is that I get to spend my Friday here with you guys, sewing together and teaching you one of my favorite things to do. I'm obsessed. Now I'm going to tell you, it's a little tricky. So we're going to stay positive. See what I did there? We're going to stay positive and optimistic and give ourselves some patience and grace, because this is a technique that did not come to me right away. It doesn't come to most people right away. It does take practice, but I hope that from my tips and tricks that I share with you, and then you can watch the replay of this video on our YouTube, that you can pick it up and find the love for it just like I have. So love your sweatshirt, by the way. Thank you. Okay, so I made this sweatshirt. It's a quilt block. And I did a little strawberry embroidery on the center. It's a sawtooth quilt block. And I actually have a tutorial for this on my YouTube channel, Craft with Bethany. So after we sew today, if you want to go watch that video, you can, because this is so fun to do. I love, it's very on trend right now to put quilt pieces or quilt blocks on clothing. And I love it. I'm here for it. Okay, Leslie says she is super excited. Woo woo, paper piecing. So that's what we're going to do today. If you did not know, we're going to do foundation paper piecing. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to show you some examples that I showed earlier this week, but we're going to just show them again. I'll show that one at the end. This is foundation paper piecing. This is foundation paper piecing. This is actually the very first FPP, is what we call it, that I ever did. It's a little mug rug. Super cute, super simple. This is what got me hooked on it. Then I did a lot of other patterns, and then I made my own, because I'd go super nerd into things that I get obsessed with, and I have to learn how to do the entire process, including making my own patterns. So I made this and it turned it into a little mug rug. So there's two right there. This one's probably my favorite. I showed this one off on Wednesday, and someone asked where the pattern's from, and I couldn't remember off the top of my head. You put me on the spot. But this is from Pride and Joy Quilting. This is one of her patterns. She's the one that does the elephants and Joan of Arc and all of these amazing, amazing detailed FPP patterns that are huge quilts. But this is one of her smaller ones. But I would say this is a intermediate level. Okay, so this is a little more advanced than like a beginner pattern. Okay, but super fun, super cute. Love that one. And then I have the rest of these patterns right here are from Liza Taylor Handmade. She's one of our affiliates here at Caterpillar. She's kind of the queen of foundation paper piecing. And she has some wonderful beginner to intermediate patterns and some great tutorials as well. These are some little garden tools that you know how I said on Monday that I was going to try to finish that apron, that these were going to be the pockets on the front of? I didn't get around to it. Clearly, we're going to be honest here. Here is a little strawberry one. I left the paper on the back of this one so you could see what that looks like. And then when you're done sewing them all together, you take the paper off. So this is how we're going to make this, okay? That's why it's called foundation paper piecing, because the paper is the foundation for what you're creating. See what we did there? This one's probably one of my favorites. I just think this is so pretty with the hummingbirds. So pretty. This was actually my second foundation paper piece pattern I ever did. I went from that little mug rug to this. So you can see how my obsession escalated quickly. I love showing this little heart one because I actually fussy cut this center block so that you could see the words, let's talk about love. And I mean, with Valentine's coming up, this seemed appropriate to show off. And then what we're going to do today is these little mini hearts. We're not making this whole project. This is a little eyeglass. Philip, if you need something to put your eyeglasses in or sunglasses in, you should make one of these. They're really fun. But we're just going to do the FPP block, which is these two little hearts here. I took this pattern, this heart pattern, and I put it into this project. This project had a different solid piece on the front, and I said, well, I want to do something fun, and these will fit. So these are 3-inch blocks. So I put two together, and I made the whole front foundation paper piece, which is super fun. So we're just going to do the hearts, and then you can decide how you want to incorporate them into something. Maybe you want to make a little zipper pouch. Maybe you want to sew a bunch of them together and add them to another quilt you're working on or for another block. So this could be a lot of fun. Bethany, is that an actual singer turned into a lamp behind you? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hold on one second. I think I have the little, sorry, I have to move it. Yep. Oh, my lampshade's crooked. There we go. It is. And the reason I was pulling this out is it's a 1936 Singer Model 99 that was turned into, you see it? That was turned into a lamp because it was no longer usable. And there's a lady, her name is Ruthie Mae Vintage Goods on Etsy. She's amazing. She's super sweet. She does it for fun. She does a lot of vintage sewing stuff. So if you want to check her out, she sent me this one and for my studio, and I'm obsessed. If you don't know, I used to work for Singer. I was their educator, so I'm a big fan of Singer. I collect, if you don't notice, there's one up there, there's one right there, and then there's a whole shelf above me that you can't see of vintage sewing machines. I collect them. And so that lamp was just meant to be. I even have I don't know if you can see them. They're bookends that make a sewing machine. Like, it's kind of the vibe around here. Couldn't tell. I love to sew, but yes, thank you for asking about it. It's one of my favorite pieces in my space. So this is what we're going to make today. And we're going to use a free pattern from Liza Taylor. This is what it'll look like when you download it. I did in our blog, and I don't know if Melody, if you can go over to our website and grab the link to the blog and drop it in the chat. I meant to tell you that beforehand, but surprise. So she can go grab that. She'll put it in there in the blog that is on our website that I wrote. It'll have a link to this, but it'll also have a link to Liza's blog so you can learn from her as well. And so this is what you're going to get in the pattern. This pattern, it's just a finished 3x3 thing. It does have some tips and tricks here, okay, on how to get started, the assembly, and how to finish it. And then this is the pattern. So really, all you need to print off is this last page, and I would print a few, okay? Especially if it's your first time doing foundation paper piecing, you're going to print a few of them, and then you're going to cut them out. And I'm actually going to switch over to this camera real quick so you can see this. When you go to cut out a foundation paper piece pattern, you're going to see a couple of lines here. You see that this outside one is dotted. That's the one you're going to cut out. So you're going to cut around this one and cut around this one. Do not cut the solid line. You're going to cut on that outside line. That's our seam allowance. We're going to sew on, not the border, but we're going to sew on these solid lines. But we're going to cut around that because we need that seam allowance. Okay. So just make sure that when you print this out and you cut it out, and you just have to cut these two sides out. When you're done, it will look like this. So you'll have these two little pieces cut out. Okay. So if you haven't already cut out your pieces, go ahead and do so. Okay. Do that real quick while we get everything ready. I'm going to go through some of the stuff we need. She just dropped the blog in the chat. So if you haven't seen the blog or downloaded the pattern yet, highly recommend you click on that, save it, and you can do it afterwards when you rewatch this and sew along if you're just watching and not sewing along this time. So we've got our pattern and we've got our pieces cut out, and I'm going to scoot those over. So a couple of the tools that we're going to use today, and the reason why I chose to teach this on Friday is because if you tuned in earlier this week to our other lives that we did a live on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday all about our mini bundle. We have a new bundle on our Caterpillar website that includes 3 products that truly are my go-to products for when doing foundation paper piecing. And I love to do this type of project on the go. So when I go to my monthly sewing club, when I go to expos and take have free sew time, if I'm going on a retreat, I always bring these products because I always do foundation paper piecing on the go because I don't need a lot. I don't need a lot of fabric. I don't need a lot of tools. They don't take up a lot of space. So traveling with this type of project is great. Okay. So I'm going to go through those products in the bundle because remember the bundle this week, and she just dropped a link to it. The bundle this week is 20% off. Okay, so mini 20 is the code, and you'll get 20% off the bundle or individual products as well that are in this bundle, right? So you don't have to get the bundle. Am I right, Melody? I'm saying that. Sorry, we've had a couple days since we've talked about it, so I want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. So the 3 products that are in the bundle are our Glow Mini Elite board, comes with the cutting mat. There we go. I'm going to use this a lot today to show you how to do the foundation paper piecing. This is a must-have. Typically, I sit it in my lap, so I'm just going like this, but obviously you need to see, so I'm going to set it on the table today. The other item in the mini bundle is our mini flip and fold 36. I only have it folded in half right now just to cover this side of my table to be able to cut fabric on. I'll probably use it to cut this with some pieces, but yes, the mini flip and fold 36 and the mini elite are the 2 main products in this bundle. But the third product in this bundle that really makes it all come together is our mini tote, because both of these products fit in this tote along with all the other supplies I need to make foundation paper piecing projects on the go. Actually, I just kind of keep them in here, stored in here all the time. So that is the bundle. If you already have the elite and you want the mini flip and fold and the tote, you can get them individually and they're still going to be 20% off, but you do have to add the code mini20 to your cart to get that discount. And that is going to end on Sunday, correct, Melody? Sunday. She's giving me the thumbs up. So that code ends on Sunday. So be sure you go take advantage of that before the weekend is over. And I'm hoping from today, learning how to do foundation paper piecing, you'll go, yeah, that does make sense. I do need those tools because it just makes it easier. And the whole point of our products is to make your sewing or crafting experience easier, more enjoyable, more accurate, with a better ending result. So you enjoy the whole crafting or sewing process. And so that's what I love about these products. All right. So mini for me, Joyce. All right, good. I love that. All right, so we're going to jump right in to foundation paper piecing. Are you ready? I've rolled up my sleeves. I kicked off my right shoe so I can drive my machine. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wear a shoe while using my sewing machine. All right, so we're going to start with material and pattern. So we've got our pattern pieces cut out. If you haven't yet, please cut those out if you're going to sew along with me. And we're going to need material. I'm doing solids. I highly recommend when you first start out doing foundation paper piecing that you do solids, because anything with a pattern or directional print will really throw you off as you're learning this process. Start with solids. I feel like you always get a very clean finish with solids, okay? If you wanted to do a solid for like the center of a design, I'll show you an example. Quick example. So here on this hummingbird, I did all solids, but the border, this outside border, it's white, but it's a tone on tone. So it has some print to it, maybe hard to see on camera. Let's see if you can see it over here. See how there's like a texture to this? So it doesn't really show up, and it's okay that it's going in different directions, right? Like it's going at an angle here, it's going up and down here. It's not distracting, and it's not taking away from the design in the center, okay? By the way, this is what the back will look like when it's all said and done. Pretty, pretty, pretty. All right. Let's switch back over here. So I just wanted to really encourage you to start with solids, and then you can always work up your way to prints and then words and fussy cut. So that's more advanced, okay? So we're going to start with solids, keep it really simple. Excuse me, I have the hiccups horribly today. I'm so sorry. I just get them sometimes. Love your sweatshirt. Can you stand up and show it off, please? Oh, absolutely. I'll stand up a little bit because I'll be too tall for the camera. This is just a blank sweatshirt, and this is my little sweatshirt block, quilt block, and I did an embroidery on the front. I have a whole tutorial on how to do this on my YouTube channel, Craft with Bethany, if you want to watch it. But Susan says she's a barefoot sewer too. See, thank you. It's not just me. It's just the one foot. I don't want both my feet cold. But I did take off my shoe to sew today. So you're going to need two pieces of two colors. We're just going to work with two colors. And this is a little tip I like to share with people when they are deciding their colors. So I'm doing blue and orange today. And here's your pieces, right? So she's got these, what I love about Liza's patterns is she color codes them. So this one really only has two colors, the inside of the heart and then the outside of the heart. So she just colors the inside a different color. So you know visibly, hey, this is one color, these are all the next color. But when you get to more bigger projects that have more patterns and colors and pieces going on, like that hummingbird with the whole wing and everything, I highly recommend that you color code them. So you can do one of two things. You can write on the inside with a pen. What color are we going to do on the inside? Let's do blue on the inside. So you're going to write on the inside, or we could do orange. It doesn't matter. You could write orange here and then put blue, blue, blue. But some of these little pieces are small. So I like to take highlighters, crayons, colored pencils, whatever you've got, and I will color the blocks. Now, I don't do this for all of my patterns because I'm kind of gotten used to doing FPP. But if this is your first time or you're new to it or you're trying a harder pattern that has a lot more colors, I recommend that you take the time to color code your pieces. It doesn't take long. It doesn't have to be perfectly colored in unless you are one of those people. I typically am, but we're going to try to go through this pretty quickly today. So I'm just going to color these little pieces in. And this is just a visual to help me remember what color or what fabric I'm putting where. Because we're going to be going back and forth from the front to the back of this paper. And it's easy to get turned around. So there we go. So this is what it's going to look like when it's done. Orange in the middle, blue on the outside. Color coding really makes a big difference. So take the time to do that if you can. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to cut out some fabric. Obviously, we don't need these big fat quarters. So we're going to cut some smaller pieces. But the key is our pieces still need to be bigger than our pattern piece, especially when you're starting out. So when you first start doing foundation paper piecing, I find that so many people want to cut a piece the exact size of this shape that they're attaching. And you shouldn't do that. You should have a bigger piece. And if it feels too big, that's okay. When you're first starting, it's best to have a piece that's too big because we're going to be sewing at an angle. And you'll find that when you flip and fold this, that piece may not be big enough. So when you first start foundation paper piecing, you are going to waste a little more fabric. And then as you get comfortable with it and you kind of get in a groove and you get, kind of can gauge how much fabric you really need for some of these pieces, then you will find that you're wasting less fabric. But just letting you know, it's okay to have a piece that's too big. So we're just going to cut. I just like to cut it with some scissors. We're going to cut it real quick. Do we have any questions yet, Melody, while I cut this fabric? I can't read all of that. I can't sew with shoes on. I glue a little piece of each fabric in place instead of coloring. That's an option too. I've never tried that method. but that is definitely an idea, an option to do that. I try not to have too much fabric in the way because we're going to be attaching fabric to the paper. That might work great for like some quilt blocks and stuff though. Let's see here. Just going to cut a couple of squares of this fabric. Is there another one I missed? Color coding the pieces keeps me on track. Yes. It's a great visual aid. I am working on a really big foundation piece, paper piecing quilt. It's like my big project of the year. I kind of started last year and then gave up on, but I am doing it this year. If you watched our video in January about setting goals, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it has a color code, but it's not by color. Each color of the fabric has a different shape, and you have to look for the shape and then go to the key to find which fabric is that shape. It's a little involved. And I'm tempted to color code it by actually coloring them all in, but I have not done that yet. But I have mis-sewn the wrong fabric in the wrong place because I got my shapes mixed up. So you got to do what works for you. And I'm a visual person, so for me, having the coloring in the pieces really does help. So pull out those crayons, those colored pencils, those highlighters, whatever you got. Or you could just write it, the word in there if you want. So, I love a good pair of fabric scissors. They are my favorite. They just sound so good. There we go. All right, so we've got a little bit of orange, a little bit of blue, and they're all bigger than my little piece that we're going to work on because I really want you to get used to seeing this. So I'm going to switch cameras over here. Can you see that? Okay. So there's two sides of our pattern here. There's A and there's B. It doesn't really matter which one you start with, especially for this one because we are, it's mirrored image for this, but you can start with any of these pieces. What matters after you get all your pieces sewn up is how you attach those pieces, the order in which. Obviously, this one is very simple. We're going to attach and sew, and then it's going to open up like this, okay? To help you visualize, on this strawberry, there were several pieces. This whole bottom portion was one big piece. This was a piece. This was a piece. This was a piece, this was a piece, and then this was a piece. They all had to go, once I sewed all of those pieces together, or sewed each of them up, each of those sections up, then I had to attach them together in a certain order. Otherwise, they would not have come together right. And there's a rhyme and a reason to all of this, and this is where my nerdy side gets in, where when you're designing these foundation paper piece patterns, they may look simple. There's a lot of thought into how they are sewn together to get the right design at the end. Okay, so I like to keep the paper on the back of this one, even though it's really trying to fall off, because it helps you see how important it is that we sew them up in a certain order. And that's where these little letters right here, like this one says D and F. So I had to attach D to F before I could attach this one to D and F. Does that make sense? It's a little confusing, I know, but in her instructions, in the instructions for foundation paper piecing, they'll usually walk through like the order that you're supposed to sew all of these together in. So you get a beautiful strawberry or whatever the design is at the end. All right. Okay, so really doesn't matter which side we start with, but I'm going to start with A just to keep it simple. One thing that's always the same on these, and I'm trying to get this so that it can focus for you guys. Can you see that? I'm sorry, my camera is going to autofocus as much as I move, and please be patient with that. You're always going to start with the number 1. So A1, B1, C1, whatever it is, you're always going to start with number 1. And you're going to go in numerical order. So A1 to A2. Then we're going to go to A3 and then A4. Okay. There's only 4 pieces being attached, and there's only 3 lines that we're going to sew here, here, and then here. That's it. Okay. So this is going to go quickly, but if you get lost, please just hang in there with me. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is find a piece for A1. This is why I said to do solids, because these don't have a front and a back, or right side or wrong side, okay? But if they did, you would want the wrong side to the back of the fabric or back of the paper, and the right side on this side, okay? The first thing we're gonna do, and I'm gonna repeat this stuff several times, so I know this is gonna get a little confusing, so just hang in there. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put our first fabric on the back, A1, and it's orange because I colored it orange. The second thing we're gonna do is find A2 right here, and we're gonna fold along the line where A1 and A2 meet. So we're gonna take it and we're gonna fold both the paper and the fabric to the back and create a crease. Okay, just like that. Now I am gonna show you something real quick. And I don't have like a good overhead right here. I didn't have enough cameras to do 3 today, but sometimes putting this on your light board, and this is where this comes in handy, and I'm going to show you another way that I really use the light board for foundation paper piecing, but seeing the lines in the fabric and where they line up can really help. But I like to teach where you fold to the back, okay? You're going to create a crease. Let me, I feel like I'm going to use my little remote here and zoom in a little bit. I think that might help. Okay. So we did our fold and our crease. I am going to open it back up so you can see that there is a line here. And what we're going to do is we need a blue piece of fabric. So I'm going to reach over here and grab a blue piece of fabric. It's going to be way too big for this little piece, okay? Just hang in there. What we have to do is say, this is where our fabric needs to be, but we have to sew it together, okay? So I'm going to take this fabric. I'm going to flip this over so you can see. Here's our line, okay? I'm going to take this fabric and I'm going to place it about, I do a little more than 1/4 inch because I want to make sure I have enough seam allowance past that line on the same side as the color that I'm trying to fill. Okay, this will make sense in a second, I promise. We're going to do it just like that. We just want to make sure that it goes from edge to edge of the paper, and it does. Here's a little trick. You know this is going to work when you fold it back and all of this little piece is covered by all the blue fabric. Okay, that's your little trick. So that is our placement. The reason we're going to do that is because we're going to sew along this line, so when we open it up, there's our corner in the blue, okay? So remember, now we're doing right sides together. Here and here, these would be right. So if you have a print, this would be right sides together. Okay, so we're gonna flip this back over, hold everything in place. Now, we did our little fold test. Yes, it's gonna fit. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew from this line. Let's see if I can get this better closer. We're gonna sew from this line to this line, corner to corner. You do not wanna go from edge to edge. You just want to go from the point to the point, okay? I do like a little single back stitch just to tack it in place. And one other thing I want to point out is a couple things on my machine before we sew. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Please ignore all the cords in the background. It's just part of being in a filming studio. A couple things for your machine that you need to set up. You do not need an extension table. Mine just came with one, so I put it on here so I'd have more room to show you stuff. 2 things that you need to do to prep your machine. You need a 1/4 inch piecing foot. I happen to have a clear one, but you can use the metal one. It doesn't really matter. Just a 1/4 inch piecing foot really helps. It's not necessary, but it does help with piecing. You could use an all-purpose foot if you want. You do need to set your machine to a straight stitch, which mine defaults to a straight stitch, but we are going to change our stitch length. Mine's a default at 2.5. We're going to lower that to 1.5. We're going to have a very, very short stitch length because we want it to stitch often, because that's what's going to create that perforation in the paper so we can take it off, okay? So let me zoom back in here. All right, so you can see my foot's on here. I'm going to sew from here to here. That's all I'm going to do. And I like to drop my needle landed right in that point. And I'm going to back stitch one. And we're sewing with the paper on the top, right through the paper, through the fabric. And when I get to that next point, and I'm going to use, I have a scissor snip button on my machine, and it is my favorite feature when foundation paper piecing. All right, look, I sewed from here to here. One thing that's really important as you do foundation paper piecing is taking the time to snip your threads as you go. So here's my little line that I sewed. That's it. That's it. All right. So remember how the first step we folded the paper to the back? This time, now that we've done our line, we're going to fold the paper to the front. Okay. The reason is we're going to trim off the seam allowance. So what we're going to do is I'm going to place it right here on my light board. This is where that light board really comes into play. I know it's going to be a little challenging to see, but just trust me on this. We're going to have our light board down, and I use a ruler. It's called Add a Quarter because it has a little 1/4 inch lip right here. So when I put it down and butt it right up next to my paper, it's a perfect 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to trim it off. You could eyeball it. You could use a regular ruler, but we're going to trim off that seam allowance so that we're left with this. I'm going to switch back to this camera so you can see. Yeah, so Casey, you said the fabrics are right sides together. Correct. Very much correct. Because we just sewed them together. We just trimmed our seam allowance. We're going to fold this open. We're going to flip it over, and then that is going to get folded and pressed to that corner. See how we've got our first corner of our heart? It's not looking like a heart yet, but it will, I promise. This is one of those projects where you really have to like trust the process, okay? So trust the process. Now it's going to even look funnier because this is a really big piece that we did need to use this big of a piece, but I really like to encourage people when I teach it to use bigger pieces because you don't have to worry about, am I covering the whole area when you have a bigger piece? See, we've covered the whole area, okay? So now that we did A1 to A2, we need to do A3. That's over here. So what are we going to do first? And remember, this piece is going to get folded out of the way. Now, some people like to just finger press and keep going, and you can. That's what I'm going to do today. If you have a little iron next to you, or you have one of our tempered glass mats, you could totally set up a little ironing station on the other side of your sewing machine and do a quick press, okay? If I'm doing a very detailed foundation paper piecing, I will absolutely press after every single one. But now this is folded out of the way. I'm going to go to the A3. You see that right there? See if I can get a little closer. And we're going to fold it to the back. So we fold to the back first. We crease our fabric and our paper. And I'm doing it up in the air. Normally I would lay this down and do it like on a table or my whatever. So we're going to fold to the back, create our crease, flip it over. We know it needs to be another blue piece. So we're going to find another piece of blue fabric, find our crease here, put the edge of our fabric just past that crease because we need a little extra to sew it down. Okay, so we've got that fabric there. Oop, there we go. Sorry. Put that fabric there. We're going to flip it back over and we're going to sew from here to here. Okay. Using that same very short stitch at 1.5 stitch length because that's going to create that perforation. There we go. And there is our next seam that we just stitched. I'm going to trim off my spare threads here, my little thread tails, and there's that. Voila. All right, so now what do? Remember we folded to the back the first time. This time we're going to fold to the front. We need that paper out of the way so we can expose this excess fabric, and we're going to trim it. I'm going to hold this up and just show you this little ruler here. Okay, see how it's got this little lip? It's got a little ledge here. So when you put it face down and you butt it right up against that paper, it gives you a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. This time, actually, let me just see if I can, y'all bear with me. I'm moving this camera a lot today. I don't usually do that, but I want to show you how to cut this and how helpful this glow board is. So I'm going to place this down, get my paper folded back out of the way. I'm going to take my ruler, butt that little edge right up to there, and we're going to just trim off all of that seam allowance. I really need to put a new blade in my rotary cutter. I do a lot of foundation paper piecing. I go through blades often. All right, so that is what we're left with. We've got our little seam allowance. We can flip this back up, flip it over. Oh, look at there. We're just going to finger press, and now we have the top point of our heart, half of our heart, okay? So now we're going to leave those pressed out of the way. I like to do a good finger press, or you can use your little mini iron or whatever you got next to you. We're going to flip it back over. We have one more piece to attach to this side of the heart, and then we'll trim all of this down. And that is the A4 piece. That's this longer section. So remember, the first thing we do, and I like to do it like this where I can put it on a table. So I'm just going to show you. We're going to fold it to the back. We're folding it to the back, and we're doing a good crease. So that way, when I fold it back, I go, oh, that's exactly where my material needs to go, just like this. That way, when I fold it back, and yep, that's the right way. If you do that little test and you go, oh, I put the fabric here, and then you find that you're folding all of this back and you're like, well, that's not right. That's how you know you got it in the wrong placement. So here's my crease. I need the fabric to be on this side, but I've got to sew it on the opposite side first so that when I'm done, it folds that way. That's the part that gets people tricked up the most, okay? So remember, if the fabric, I need the blue fabric in this corner, when I go to attach it, it needs to be on the opposite side of that corner, just a little bit into that corner because I need a seam allowance, because I'm going to fold it back. And this is why I recommend starting with solids, because there's no right or wrong side, okay? Makes it really simple. When you get to prints, you are always going to sew right sides together. So when you open it up, right sides are up, okay? So we've got our little line here. We've got our thing. So we're going to take this over and sew it. And just for time's sake, I'm just going to switch to this view while I sew this one on and ask if you guys have any questions. If any of this is making sense, I know I'm kind of going quickly. And it may, and we're going to do it a couple times. So just know, like, I'm not just going to leave you hanging with half a heart. We're going to go through the whole process so you can learn. Where can I get that 1/4-inch ruler? Honestly, I got mine off Amazon. You can get it, I know, quilt shop. So you might want to check your local quilt shop and see if they have it in stock. But I ordered mine online. So I sewed my little stitch. I'm going to trim my thread tails real quick. Any other questions real quick? We're good? Really helpful. I'm so glad you're finding it helpful. Marion says, I'm such a perfectionist, so I'm loving this. Yes, me too. Love the tips. Thank you. You picked the perfect pattern to demo with. Thank you. Honestly, this is a great pattern to start with, truly. Okay, so we did our second stitch line down through here, that A4. So this is our last one. So what do we do next? Can anybody tell me what we do next? Which way do we flip our paper this time? Do we flip it to the back or to the front? Someone comment and let me know which way I should flip my paper. I want to know who's been paying attention. All right. Anybody know? Are we flipping to the back or the front now that we've done our stitch? I'm putting you guys on the spot, I know, but this is how I teach. So get used to it. Misty said front, and Misty is correct. Good job, Misty. All right, so we are going to fold the paper to the front because we want to expose all this extra fabric. And we're going to use, there we go, Renee, Casey, you guys got it. Y'all are pros already. All right, so we're going to put that ruler up next to it. Now, if you don't have one of these, you don't need it. You could use one of these smaller rulers. I got a little 6-inch ruler, and it's got the lines too, and I could totally just use this one. And it's totally fine. And this one's probably easier for you guys to see through. And it's got glitter on it. That's always fun. You know, we got to have glitter stuff. All right, so I trimmed my excess material. I'm going to fold it now back, flip it over, and press my fabric back. And now we have half a heart. There we go. Now, it's maybe not looking quite like half a heart because there's a lot of extra fabric. So we're going to flip this back over now that we're done with this piece, okay? Before you trim anything, take it to an iron, give it a really good press, and let it cool, okay? Let it lay nice and flat and let it cool, because see how it wants to kind of curl up, and I don't want you to shorten your fabric, okay? So give it a good press. For time's sake, we're just going to go willy-nilly over here. I've made this heart, I couldn't even tell you how many times. Every time I teach this technique, I make the heart. So what I'm doing now is I'm lining up the edge of my ruler with the edge of that dotted line that we cut out, like the edge of the paper pattern. And we're just going to trim off the excess. There we go. And you're going to do this after every piece. You want to make sure that they lay flat until you're ready to piece them together. So There's half of our heart right there. There we go, half of our heart. How about that? That wasn't so bad, was it? That wasn't so bad. Half a heart. All right, you want to do the other half? Going willy-nilly isn't a bad thing. There is no telling what I'm going to say when I'm doing a live sew along. I'll say all sorts of silly things. So am I the only one that says willy-nilly? Sorry if I am. All right, so let's do the other half real quick, and then we'll join them together. So we're going to start with, this is the B side. Okay, so now we have the B side, and we're going to go from B1 to B2, but we need the center color first. And that's always the easiest piece. You're just going to stick it on there, and it's going to be right sides up on the back, okay? And we're going to have B1 to B2. So this time, instead of folding, like we're doing the opposite version of this, okay? So B1 to B2. Someone said, you make it look so easy, Jane. It is easy, but it does take practice. So everything can become easy with a little practice. So remember, we're going to fold to the back and make that crease. And we're going to take a piece of our blue fabric, and we're going to put it on the opposite side of the piece that we want to be blue. Remember, because we're going to turn it blue, and we're going to go sew corner to corner. I'm going to switch back to this camera view. Is there any way to not waste so much fabric? Kim, yes. Kim, I've cut off so much fabric here, and normally I wouldn't use pieces this big. I really encourage people when they first start out to use bigger pieces, because nothing's worse than sewing on a piece, folding it at these angles, and then not covering the entire paper piece. You have to make sure that once it's all said and done and you trim it all off, that the entire paper piece has fabric edge to edge, because this is your seam allowance. And you'll see that when we stitch these two sides together. So if you do an angle and you sew it on and you fold it and there's a piece of paper showing that the fabric didn't cover, you're going to have to take that off. And a lot of times when you take it off, you have to start all over, because we're using such a short stitch length, 1.5 millimeter stitch length. So it's perforating the paper. So seam ripping that usually tears your paper, and you have to start from the beginning. So always start with bigger pieces at the beginning. Once you get better at it, you'll see me. Sometimes I'm not joking. If I have some really detailed patterns, and I'm using pieces that are teeny tiny, because I'm trying not to waste the material that came in the kit. But yeah, so you do not have to waste as much once you get the hang of it. But when you first get started, and I don't want you to get discouraged, I want you to have fun with it, and get the hang of it. Use a little extra fabric. This is where scrap fabric can come in really handy for practicing. All right, so we did our first stitch on this side, and here it is. So now that we stitched it down, we're going to fold to the front. I'm going to use this one again, and we're going to trim down our seam allowance to 1/4 inch. Fold it back, flip it over, finger press it, or go press it at your iron. I did not set up an iron today, so we're just finger pressing because this is a really simple one. So B1 to B2 is done. Is there a cheat sheet for these steps? Honestly, rewatching this tutorial is the best way. I have yet to find a written tutorial that really helps you understand it. Another one is, I have a YouTube video on this as well with the same exact pattern. So either one of those, rewatching this one will help you remember the steps. I usually dab a little fabric, or what did that say? I'm sorry. I usually dab a little fabric or school glue to the paper to secure the fabric. You can absolutely do that, especially once you've got it all folded down in place. See how mine is like flopping up? You could absolutely do a little dab of glue to hold it down if you want. That's totally up to you, and I think that's a great idea. All right, so we did B1 to B2. Let's do B3. So now that the first step is always folding to the back with the fabric. We're folding with the fabric to create that crease. I'm going to use a smaller piece this time. I'm just going to grab one of these little scrap pieces. Actually, not that one. Let's grab this one. All right, and I'm just going to fold it. I'm going to test to make, so here's a test. If you want to make sure that your fabric is big enough or small enough, big enough really for your section, you put your fabric down and then you fold it, and if the paper does not go past where your fabric is here, then you're okay. Okay, that's the little test. I recommend doing the test. Okay, so now we've got our little crease, and I'm going to go sew this over here. And can you share the name of your YouTube channel? It's Craft with Bethany. Just really simple, Craft with Bethany. This little sweatshirt that I made, there's a tutorial over there for that. I do all sorts of little crafty sewing tutorials. I love sharing all of that with you all. I've been sewing for 35 years. I started when I was 5. You can do the math for yourself. And I loved it. I love it. And there's not a type of sewing that I haven't really tried or haven't obsessed over. So I love sharing all sorts of different types of projects with you guys. So you'll see a lot of that here at Caterpillar. Once you understand the steps, is all paper piecing done the same way? Yes, Christy. It's so repetitive, and that's what I love about it, because it is so easy to just kind of sit with I take this to sewing club where we're all chit-chatting. So I can kind of get in the groove, and I'm just like doing my thing. And by the time I'm done with sewing club, I've got a whole little FPP block done. And we're just hanging out because it's just very repetitive. And it's very relaxing. But you can create some really amazing designs. So there's those two. We've got the top point. So now we just have one more. And then we're going to put these two sides together. I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, we're going to fold to the back. Fold to the back. Crease. There we go. Where's another piece of blue? Did I use them all? We'll use this one. And then we're gonna test it. Yep, that's gonna fit. And we're gonna sew that together. Any other questions real quick? It's not if you use freezer paper, and so besides the free paper inside it on it, then it's super similar but slightly different. Joyce, yes, I am 40. I am. I turned 40 last year. But thank you. I have a kiddo in college. Believe it, he's a freshman in college. I can't believe it either. I'm just over here living my best life, teaching you guys how to sew. I mean, this is my favorite thing to do. All right. So I'm down that side. I'm rewatching this. Renee, I hope you do. I hope you do, and come and learn and practice. Like I said, it took me a couple of times of doing this before I got comfortable with it. I feel like I could do this in my sleep. Thank you. All right, so let me switch back to this camera. All right, so we did our last seam. First, we fold it to the back, then we fold it paper to paper to the front. So fabric to fabric, then paper to paper, front to back. And we're gonna trim this down. I really need to change my blade. Hello. There we go. My goodness. Sometimes when you get to these seams and they get a little bulky, it's a little tricky to cut them. All right, so we're going to fold it that way and then fold it to the back, or fold this back out so we have our other seam. All of our fabric is going the right direction. It looks so nice. The other half of a heart. So now we're just going to trim this down real quick. I'll use this ruler. Any other questions? I know the glow board makes seeing all of this so much easier. So much easier. Especially when you go to like fussy cut. So like the center of that heart that says, let's talk about love. I mean, I had to specifically cut that with that centerpiece. And that was a little tricky. And so having the glow board definitely makes that easier. All right, so there is the other half of my heart. Look at that. There we go. Two sides of our heart, perfectly made. So easy. And if you follow those steps, yours will look just like this. Is the top piece of the light board a self-healing mat? Yeah, well, it is a cutting mat. You'll see some of my lines because I cut in different angles. We do have extra mats if you ever need an extra mat. You can just send an email to support@caterpillar.com, but they will last you a long time. And these mats actually have a grippy on the backside. So this is the front now that's on this. But when I flip it over, you'll see that this doesn't like move. It goes edge to edge to our light board. So you actually get a little extra cutting space beyond the light if you want. This one also has magnets built in. I don't have the magnets near me, but you could, if you were tracing something, you could stick it down and make sure nothing's moving. So that's what I really love about our light boards. And the mini, remember, is 20% off until Sunday. So we have our two sides of our heart, and now we just need to attach them together. And so we're going to put them right sides together. But if you're ever doing a foundation paper piece and you're like, I don't know which sides to sew together because yours may not always be a mirrored image heart. This was pretty straightforward. We all know what a heart looks like. But you'll see here on the pattern, it has like an A with an arrow and a B with an arrow. That's telling you that these two sides need to go together, A and B. So you're just going to put them right sides together. And you want to make sure that the papers are lined up corner to corner. Okay, so see how the papers are lined up here and here. Now I like to clip it at one end because this is a very short one. So we're just going to sew from here to here. We're just going to sew along this solid line. Okay, and I like to just clip on this end, but you can put as many clips as you want. And we're going to start here, do a little back stitch, and go all the way down. What size is the mini glow board? Great question. It is a 12 by 9. It is actually a little bigger than that. Let me kind of hold it up. It's a little bigger than that, but the cutting mat numbers go from 12 inches across to 9 inches up. So it's a good size and great for foundation paper piecing. Okay, so I showed you I clipped it. I'm going to sew across there real quick, and then we'll open it up, and we will be done with our cute little heart. And then you can repeat this and practice it as many times as you want. Make as many hearts as you want. And we are still doing that same stitch length. I'll back stitch a little bit. We're going to do that same 1.5 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter stitch length down this side. So it can be a little tough because we've got some extra seam allowances, but it will work just fine. You'll fill the little bulky spots. And then we're going to do a little back stitch, cut our threads. I love the automatic needle or thread cutter on my machine. It makes this go by so fast. All right, I'm going to switch to this camera because we're going to enjoy this together. Let me zoom out a little bit. So I sewed it right here. Right here. Voila. Perfect. When you line up your papers, look at that perfect point. Look at that. Misty says she printed out 5 hearts so she can practice. Misty, I love it. And when you're done, you can press to one side. I typically press to one side because when you split this open, like you typically do with a quilt block, sometimes you can see it through. But it's totally up to you. It's totally up to you. People have different preferences. There's no right or wrong. Do what you like. You can press it open. You can press it to one side. This is what it looks like when you press it to one side. But when you're done, you want to know my favorite part? It's tearing all the paper off. These center pieces, you just kind of have to like pinch it and it'll pull right up. See how it perforates so easily? It's because we did that smaller stitch length. Look at that. How fun is it? It's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. Thumbs up. Thank you, Casey. I hope you try this. I hope you give foundation paper piecing a try. I can tell you right now, I will be back to teach you guys more foundation paper piecing in the future. But let me tell you, the steps are always the same. I think someone asked that earlier. It's always the same steps. So now that all of my paper is off, I would go and press this to one side or press it open. And then that's the front of my heart. And then you can take this finished piece. Where's all my projects I just had? So now, once you make a couple of these, right, you could stack them and sew them together like, you know, the same way we did here. So we could sew these together, same seam allowance, right? Now I'm going to tell you one little tip. I just tore the paper off of this. If I wanted to attach another one, I would wait until all of my pieces are done, sew them all together, and then take all the paper off at the very end. So what I mean by that is I would sew this one and then my next one, sew them together, and then once they're all done being sewn together and I'm ready to put them into a project, then I would take the paper off, because this paper gives it some stability, okay? So that when you attach them, it's a lot easier. All right, what are other uses for the mini? Oh my goodness. I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's great for travel, and I think that's the big thing is like a lot of people go to sewing classes, sewing clubs, retreats, expos, I go to a sewing club every month and I take it with me. Like I said earlier, I usually kind of sit it down in my lap because it's the perfect size for your lap, but you can trace on it. You don't have to cut on it. So it's a light board first and foremost. Okay. We just like to put clear, translucent cutting mats on top of our light boards so we can do more. So you can do a lot. You can also do applique, fussy cutting, tracing, embroidery designs. There's a plethora of things you can do. I'm sure some other people in here, yep, applique and tracing is another one. And you guys are sharing your own ideas of how you like to use your mini. Please share those in the comment. We would love to see that. You might inspire me too. So remember, the Mini Elite is on sale, 20% off till Sunday. So is the Mini Flip and Fold 36 that I have right here. And so is the Mini Tote. So you can take both of these products, put them in this tote, take it to go. You can add all of your other tools for your foundation paper piecing. Did you mention about foundation paper? Would you use printer paper? Great question. I always use printer paper. Everything we just did was printed on my home printer on regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper. I have some specialty foundation paper piece paper, and I've never even used it. I've started with this. It's so easy. We all have it at home. You're going to print your design anyways. It's just easier for me. Do you ever use water eraser pen to remove the paper? No, I haven't. I've never really come into a position where I couldn't get the paper out. Sometimes in those tight seams where you've got, like, for example, seam here and here, but going both directions, it might be a little tight under here. You can use some tweezers to get it out. But for the most part, I typically don't have an issue. And I think part of that is because I do lower my stitch lengths pretty low. So here. Oh, you guys are sharing all sorts of ideas. I love my mini embroidery patterns. Is there a bundle for all three? Yes, Joyce. So she just put the code up, Mini 20. Mini 20 will give you 20% off each individual product, which is the tote, the Mini Elite Glow Board, and the Mini Flip and Fold 36. Or you can do the mini bundle. There's a new mini bundle. I think she dropped a link to it in the chat. So look for that link. It says Mini Travel Bundle. And it's where we bundled all three of these products together. When you bundle and buy, you already are going to save a little extra because we knocked down the price a little bit in our bundles. And then you add on that Mini 20 code and you'll save an extra 20%. So you actually get a better discount when you bundle than buying individually. But if you already own one of these products and you don't need another one, you can buy the other ones individually and still get 20% off of those. So we made sure that you guys could all take advantage of those deals. And I will say, foundation paper piecing does kind of make a bit of a mess. I've got scraps and paper everywhere, but it is so fun to end up with a fun little heart. I hope you enjoyed this. I know someone who uses unprinted newspaper. Yeah, so thinner paper might be more comfortable for you. I like the structure of just regular printer paper. It just seems to feed through my machine easier, and it's easier to stitch with. And I find that it gives my FPP designs a little bit stability. So I get these perfect little points on my heart. It's so precise. Yes. Thank you. All right. So any other questions about this, about foundation paper piecing, or the bundle deal that we had, which, by the way, our little tote is my favorite. So what I do is I just kind of unplug and pack it all up and take it with me. I'm definitely doing some foundation paper piecing this week. It's kind of like one of those things where I have it all like in a little bin, all my solid fabrics and all of my little patterns, and this ruler lives in there, and it all kind of stays together. And then whenever I want to do it, I just pull it out and it's all right there and easy to work with. Oh, so we do have a giveaway. You guys, we did this last Friday where Melody was live and she was doing the craft along with the card making. And we both forgot to, I don't want to forget about the giveaway. I have an off the wall question. What is the proper pronunciation of your sewing machine? I am using the Necky sewing machine. I have the Necky. It's the purple one that's computerized. I think she has a link if you want to check it out. I love computerized machines. I personally will not sew on a machine that doesn't have a needle up down button and a scissor snip button. And if you know, you know. Those are two features that just make the sewing experience so much more enjoyable. So she dropped a link in there for you guys if you want to check out this machine. I love it. And it's really quiet. What is the flip and fold? Christy, great question. Let me show you. We have two flip and folds. Okay. We have two. We have the original which is the bigger one. And then we have a new mini one, which is in the bundle. So I'll show you the mini one, but then I'll hold up the bigger one just so you can see both. I'm just going to try to move some stuff out of the way. So this is the mini, and I had it folded in half to fit on my table. So I'm going to just fold it up real quick. This is actually the full size. Little tricky sitting on the side. Hold on. I'm going to stand up and do this. Try not to knock over my other camera sitting here. All right. Here it is. This is the mini flip and fold. This is the mini. We call it the mini because it's the flip and fold 36, meaning it's smaller than our original one. It gets up to 24 by 36 in size. It's 5 cutting mats in one. So this is the first size. What is this, 8.5 by 11? It's like the sheet of paper, okay, that our paper that we just sewed up, okay? But then you can open it up like a book. Let me flip it over here. So you're going to open it like a book. Now I have, 11 by 17? And then I can flip it over and open it 2 more times. And now I have 11 by 36. And then I can open it up again, have 24 by 36. And then I can fold that in half. And that's what I was using earlier. So you can readjust this to whatever size and space you need. It has all of the different folds and mats right here, but there's also a QR code if you need to figure out how to use it the first time. But I'll be honest, it really only folds the way it's meant to. It won't let you fold it the wrong way. This is the mini. We call it the mini. On the website, it's the Flip and Fold 36. But let me show you the original Flip and Fold, just for size comparison, because this is the Flip and Fold 48. You see that difference? That's a big difference. This one gets up to 36 by 48, so it gets really big. Same concept, same folding method, just bigger in size. So again, 5 mats in one. I have both. This one goes on the road with me and lives in my studio because I have a smaller table in here. This one I have over here to show you guys, but I use it in my main sewing room, and I use it on the floor in my living room when I'm doing like big circle skirts, or I do a lot of quilted coats and I want to fussy cut my entire quilt. Protect my rug. I don't want to cut my rug. So there's that. So that's a great question. And it is 20% off with the code MINI20. You can also get the whole bundle and grab these items again off the floor. So the bundle is the mini Flip and Fold 36. It's the tote, and it's the Elite Glow Board, the mini Elite Glow Board that I was using in our tutorial today. And all of these fit in here. So even this little mini Flip and Fold fits into this little tote, which is great. And then you have pockets to put other stuff like the power cord to your Elite. I like to put my rotary cutter in here. I'll put my magnets in here. I'll put my foundation paper piece stuff in here. My little trusty snips can go in here, and it all closes up nice and neat, zips up, and you can take it with you. Okay. And so you can get the mini bundle for 20% off, or you can get each item for 20% off. The large one is what size? The large Flip and Fold, this one gets up to 36 by 48. It starts out at 11 by 17. Okay, so it starts out bigger than the smaller one. And it continues to grow from there. And it's 5 different sizes. And again, there's a QR code for you to walk you through all those different sizes. Let's see here. Does it come with the magnets? The mini Elite Glow Board does not come with the magnets, but you can buy the little thumbs. I found them over here. So you can buy the little thumbs if you want them. I call them thumbs because they're like little green thumbs, and they are very strong magnets. So the mini Flip and Fold will fit into the larger premium travel case. I bought it the other day because I had bought the premium glow. Yes, so we do have bigger travel cases. This is just a mini one that's on sale. I believe they're in here. So we have our regular Glow Basic travel case, and then we have the big one that fits our Ultra. And so the bigger Flip and Fold will fit into either one of these. Y'all have got me pulling everything out of my drawers over here today. I'm gonna have a mess to clean up. Who's coming to help me clean up? Even your shoulder strap in the front pocket. Misty, let me tell you, it's right here. It's because I pulled it out earlier. But yes, I do have my shoulder strap. Y'all, I couldn't find it the other day, and then I found it on the live, and I was like, she's like, you should put it in the front pocket because there's a front pocket right here with Velcro. And I took it out, but I'm putting it back in there just for you, Misty. It's 20% off good until Sunday, or through Sunday till midnight, all the way through. Yep. Melody's over here going like the whole weekend. We count Sunday too. So Monday morning, you won't be able to use that code. So just be sure you use it by midnight Mountain Standard Time on Sunday. Can't wait to try diamond art on my mini on the flight to Europe. Jenny, you mentioned this the other day in the live, and I am actually trying to find like some diamond art that I want to do that I can take on my flight because I am flying to Australia in like 3 weeks, and that is like a 17-hour flight, and I'm going to need something to do. Let me win and I'll help you clean up. Leslie, you're a hoot. You're a hoot. Now, we did a registered giveaway this week for our live. So if you were signed up for our email newsletter, which if you're not, you need to go to our website, cutterpillar.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner, and there's a place to sign up for a newsletter. And when we do live, sometimes we do a giveaway, but we don't just like, sometimes we'll pull people straight from who are watching, but we typically will do a registered giveaway. Someone who has said, I'm committed to coming and hanging out with you on this live and learning from you, and I'm signing up for that. Like this is important to me. I want to make sure I get those reminders. So we did a registration for the giveaway, and I believe, Melody, we have our winner, and we're going to put it up on the screen. Drum roll. Congrats, Cheryl Christopher. Now, Cheryl, what did you win? I should probably tell you. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to send you home with one of these, the mini Elite Glow boards, so you can do your foundation paper piecing and watch this tutorial again and again and master foundation paper piecing. So congrats, Cheryl. If you could, please send an email to melody@cutterpillar.com, and we'll be sure to get this out to you. I think we already have your email, but just in case, send us an email. If you're watching, Cheryl, we'd love to get this to you next week so you can start making all the fun things and enjoy your Elite Glow Mini. Congrats to Cheryl. And thank you guys for hanging out with me today and having fun. Our first sew along. I mean, I hope it went okay. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something new. If you make any foundation paper piecing, even if it's just this one little heart, even if you just try it once and you go, that's not for me, but I tried it, that's okay. I want you to take a picture of it. And then over in our Facebook group, the Caterpillar Creations Hub, I want you to go join the group if you're not already. There it is, Caterpillar Creations Hub. Go to Facebook, search that, and join our group. I will go approve you joining. I approve them. And post a picture of your foundation paper piece heart in the group. I want to see it. I want to see what you did. I want to cheer you on for trying something new, for learning something new. Even if you've done foundation paper piecing before, share some of those projects you've done. Maybe share a tip that you learned that you didn't know before. If I taught you something new, I'd love to know that. Any way that we can continue to help educate you guys and grow your skills, please let us know. What was my YouTube channel again? Craft with Bethany. Craft with Bethany. Pretty easy. You can find me on all the social media there. I don't see the pattern. Did I miss it? It is in our blog post. So Melody, maybe you can drop the link to the blog one more time and you'll download the pattern from there. And then you can also find this free pattern on Liza Taylor Handmade's blog post, but we've got it right here for you. So you can do it. It's a free download. Thank you for saying I did a great job. I appreciate it. Yeah, awesome. Okay. Any other questions? We're good. You guys learned something new? Be sure you go to our Facebook group. Please post some hearts. Please post some hearts. Thank you for all the information. It was very helpful. You're welcome, Christy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now go have fun this weekend. Try some foundation paper piecing. You can rewatch this on our YouTube channel as many times as you need to. And I hope you have all the fun. You're ordering one. This is a must-have for foundation paper piecing. It's so much fun, and all the other types of things you can do with it. So thank you, Jenny. Jenny says thank you to me and Melody. Yes, you guys don't forget. I know you can't see Melody. She's in the background. I can see her. She's waving, but she's helping out with the chat and dropping all these fun links for you guys. So if you need anything, just let us know, and we'll see you next week. We'll be back for some more fun stuff. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you later. Bye. Have a good weekend.